Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. And on satellite imagery from yesterday, you can see cloudiness here in the west, band north to south, flow from south-southwest to north-northeast there, but the whole pattern shifting eastward a little bit, so breaking out over the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas on up into just east of Norton Sound, but some more moisture sliding eastward there across the Bering Strait into the Seward Peninsula, a little bit of moisture, and farther to the south, a little bit stronger system out here over the southwest Bering with the center pulling near or just north of Shimia, and that driving a pretty good frontal system, some gale force winds eastward into the central Aleutians, and some rain spreading into the Pribilofs yesterday on down to the Fox Islands. And then we had this area of moisture sliding up to the panhandle there to the coast in the afternoon yesterday, and then convection thunderstorms breaking out over the eastern interior areas back to about this trough through here. Also up there on the Arctic coast. Well, today, none of that going on up there today, no convection. Have a stabilizing effect of a front approaching the area there. Gusty southwest winds, gale force winds here on the west coast, western Beaufort Sea, or the western Arctic coast there, and as high as 40, maybe gusts as high as 50 miles an hour in some areas back there, mostly from Point Lay on down to Cape Lisburne. Otherwise, southwest flow, downsloping winds clearing it out across the north slope there. Still some clouds about Anatuvik on over toward Dead Horse up in there, but not the convection you saw the last couple of days. Sunshine, Arctic Village down into across the Yukon Flats, then some picking up some clouds there around the Tanana Valley. And we have low pressure off the southeast coast, both at the surface and aloft here, slowly moving inland, spinning bands of moisture and precipitation on in, one shifting off into Canada, a little bit of a break, and then some more rain coming onto the coast there with another weak front, and some of that shower activity sliding northwestward in across, well, from the North Gulf Coast, and then on up to the northeast. Again, thunderstorms breaking out in the eastern interior, and then scattering out, becoming isolated as you head west. But late this afternoon, still breaking out as far west here as Yukon River, and even an isolated shower there in the southern slopes of the far western Brooks Range due to the southwest flow coming in over the top of this ridging here along the southwest coast, which kept winds light and skies mostly sunny here across the area on down even into Kodiak Island. Dry day today, and could see some convection possibly getting south, maybe to the Talkeetnas, but basically still to the north. A little bit farther south in the forecast for tomorrow though, and out to the west, kind of a weakening system right through here. Trough brought some light rain, drizzle and fog north of the eastern Aleutians, a little bit heavier from the eastern Aleutians on south, and then more wind here, gale force winds and rain. Definitely small craft advisories ahead of that front with rain and fog, and then winds letting up, scattering out the showers back to the west. Otherwise, high pressure up into the Bering Strait there. Light winds, but there were some low clouds and fog across the northern Bering Sea in areas. And for tonight, this front edges a little bit closer down, so keep the winds going there on the west side, but gradually beginning to diminish with high pressure shifting inland. Light variable winds over all of the central, or actually all of interior Alaska is going to see light and variable winds with variable clouds, most of the clearing back to the west here on up to the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. Thunderstorms and showers diminishing throughout the evening and after midnight, but lingering here over the Copper River Basin areas, Wrangell Mountains north to Nebezna, Northway, possibly Tok, probably on toward morning with some lingering showers also there over northeast Prince William Sound. So keep a chance of some moisture there for Cordova, maybe Valdez throughout much of the night tonight or into tomorrow. but the heavier precipitation will be associated with this system here with the heaviest amounts, more steady precipitation, although it won't be all that heavy. Will be over the northern areas, a little more showery down to the south there, more convective a little bit, just a very weak front with this possible small craft advisory winds associated with that front, and the whole system here gradually moving eastward back to the west, front advancing slowly to the east as well. Actually brings some pretty good winds, good shot of wind and rain into the Fox Islands for tonight, right on up into the Pribilofs. Rain, fog, wind, IFR conditions, gusty winds maybe 32, possibly 40 miles an hour, even some higher gusts possible here just ahead of the front as it pushes eastward. Otherwise staying fair over Bristol Bay. Breezy showers back to the west of the front with that low center just north of the Aleutians. And moving ahead to the forecast for Sunday, looking like this, that front kind of washes out there. So winds are going to be much lighter tomorrow on the western Arctic coast there than they were today, and staying light here even on the east side with a narrow ridge of high pressure setting up just over the western portion of the Mackenzie River Delta, about 1,013 millibars. Another center developing here over the Selawik Valley area, Selawik-Kobuk Valley. So partly to mostly sunny conditions here with light winds tomorrow. Chance of moisture there with the remaining moisture, or the remaining moisture here with that old frontal boundary. So the central coast back to the west will be kind of damp and unsettled with better conditions to the east and definitely to the south. This trough now a little bit farther to the south, we're looking at thunderstorm activity to develop possibly over the Kenai Peninsula back up to the Chugach Mountains, Talkeetnas, Susitna Valley, and probably even maybe the northern Susitna Valley on up to Denali, eastward across the Copper River Basin, and then up across the 40-mile country there tomorrow. So looks like that action will be farther to the south than what we've seen. Otherwise down along the coast, more stable air mass, so partly and mostly sunny. Areas of clouds possible on down to Kodiak Island. Westerly flow, though, keeping it pretty nice there on the east side of the island with increasing clouds later on here. Shelikof Strait in the southwest side with some rain possibly reaching the coast late in the afternoon, and good winds here rolling into the Alaska Peninsula, back up across the northern Bering Sea there, and along the southwest coast, the outer coast of the coast. And for the Panhandle, we've got the front moving through, low pressure rolling up into northwest Canada or northwest territories, and a trough here bringing a good shot of showers tomorrow, mostly over the central areas there, all the way down into Dixon Entrance. Looks pretty wet and starting to dry out back to the north with weak high pressure building in as that thing pulls off. So mostly cloudy, should see the showers end definitely for Yakutat. Take a little longer for Elfin Cove, Skagway, Haines, and Juneau definitely. And but winds pretty darn light for Sunday. And then the outlook for Monday, a little bit better ridging out here over the Gulf of Alaska, and then lower pressure over Canada. So that's going to pick the northwesterly winds up to about 25 knots for most of the coastal areas on Monday. So increase in the winds there with about 20 knots on the north coast. Still lots of clouds and showers, really scattered, isolated out along the outer coastline, becoming a little more numerous as you head over toward the border, but the bulk of the moisture will stay over in Canada as that all starts to slide off to the southeast. Less in the way of thunderstorm chances now, but they still will occur here from the eastern Alaska range across the 40-mile country, possibly on up to about Eagle, roughly in this area. Dry back to the west with mostly sunny skies, light winds. Temperatures into the 70s to possibly mid-70s, 60s on the north slope. But back to the fog there, high pressure southwest of Banks Island. So that flow is going to cool it off, and you'll be back into the low clouds and fog at times for the eastern Arctic coast over to the central areas. But pretty nice here, right on down into, well, south central Alaska. Just a risk of an afternoon shower possible for Prince William Sound. And this front really weakening as it pushes in, isn't expected to be much of a rain producer at all, or wind producer here, just showers associated with it as it kind of falls apart there over the southwest interior. Stays a little more potent down here over the Pacific. South flow, periods of rain the entire day for Kodiak Island, rain and fog, and that condition spreading up into the southern Kenai Peninsula, possibly into the Homer area, Kachemak Bay, back to the west to Kachemak Bay, Kamishak Bay, Kachemak Bay, Homer, Kamishak Bay and Augustine Island. Anyway, just showery conditions back along the southwest coast, and a large area of low pressure out over the Bering Sea. Actually, the center up in the northwest Bering, that's rotating a couple of troughs down and eastward here. So some pretty good showers coming in with those trough axes, exiting the central Aleutians, moving into the Fox Islands in the afternoon. Another shot dropping down from the northwest, coming into the far western Aleutians at the same time. And temperatures this afternoon across the Panhandle were running in the 50s to lower 60s, 63 degrees there at, I believe, Petersburg, 59 at Klawock, otherwise 55 Elfin Cove, 56 up at Skagway, and a 54-degree reading reported from Yakutat. Lower 60s North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound area, 62 at Portage, also Seward, Palmer, and Kenai, all with 62 degrees today. About the same there at Homer with 61. Sunshine, 68 degrees, northwest flow there, Kodiak Island, Kodiak State Airport, 71 at Talkeetna, Susitna Valley. Otherwise lower 60s to near 70 across the Copper River Basin. And the Tanana Valley right around the 70-degree mark with the warmest conditions there in the greater Fairbanks area. And then milder here to the southwest, lower 70s, Nikolai and McGrath and those locations. And lower 70s extending up to Fort Yukon with 68 at Bettles, 58 Anatuvik. And offshore flow there pushing Deadhorse up to 64 degrees this afternoon with 58 Kaktovik. Otherwise in the 40s back along the central and west coast down to Kivalina, 45 degrees. 51 in Kotzebue and a 55-degree reading there at Ambler. 52 at Shishmaref, just 49, didn't quite reach 50 yet at Nome, 48 Savunga. Upper 40s there in the southern coast of the Norton Sound, into the lower 50s along the southwest coast, mid 50s there at Bethel. And for the Pribilofs, upper 40s. Same pattern, mid to upper 40s there for the central western Aleutians, lower 50s on Alaska Dutch Harbor, 52 degrees. And for the Alaska Peninsula, about the same. And then lower 60s, northeast Bristol Bay with Koliganek at 68 degrees this afternoon. And for the lows tonight, lower to mid 50s here, Yukon Flats into the central Tanana Valley, and excuse me, near 50 out to the mid River Valley areas, and then falling into the upper 40s to the mid 40s out toward the coast. 40s Bering Sea, Aleutians, and mid to upper 30s there, now restricted to the western Arctic coast with milder 40s, mid 40s to the east. About the same, lower 50s there for the Panhandle. And the highs tomorrow, pretty good swath of 70s from northeast to southwest. Could see some 70-degree readings all the way down to the Bethel area, up to St. Mary's, about 65 there. And a little bit of a warm up here for the Seward Peninsula. And near 70 west of the Alaska Range. Susitna Valley looks warmer tomorrow, definitely from Palmer, Wasilla, Willow, all the way up to Talkeetna. Mid 70s possible, and that warmer condition will help trigger some thunderstorms. And for the flying weather, IFR over the Bering Sea, marginal for the Panhandle, marginal VFR for the Panhandle, Aries IFR out to the west, and Atuvik, all the passes looking really good tomorrow. The only one that's going to see any restrictions of visibility, Mentasta becoming marginal VFR in the afternoon, otherwise Tanita VFR, Portage VFR, Chilkoot and White marginal. Freezing levels 6,000 feet from the western Arctic coast right on down into the Gulf of Alaska, and 10,000 feet over the Aleutians. Icing with that system above about 10,000 feet Alaska Peninsula, but mostly to the west of the area up here, but angling back in toward the Arctic coast. Areas of mixed above about 7,000 for the Panhandle. And jet stream ridging northwest flow, making for dry conditions here coming in tomorrow. Southeast 30 to 35 knots so along the coast with this system edging eastward toward the area. Lighter winds on the Arctic coast, light winds for the Panhandle. About the same pattern, 3,000 feet there, ridging into the interior. Light winds, stronger, southeast 30 to 35. And turbulence-wise, not too bad. Kodiak Island up in toward Iliamna Lake, the Alaska Peninsula, the eastern Aleutians, and then farther out west, all below 4,000 feet. After the break, I'll be back in the marine forecasts.
Mike Nolan, Anchorage Fire Chief. I'm here to talk to you today about defensible space and wildland fires. The fire truck in the background is your last line of defense. against wildfire. You are the first line of defense. The following video will show you how to prepare and protect your home so that if you call us, we can save it. Thank you.
This program deals with maintaining landscaped properties in fire-prone areas known as the wildland-urban interface. What were once wildland forests, fields, and pastures are now businesses, highways, and homes. Whether simple cabins, mobile homes, or large, expensive developments, many are constructed in the wakes of past fires and in the path of future fires. In areas where wildfires have occurred naturally for centuries, homes and gardens now add fuels that can accelerate the spread of fire. Landscaping can help protect property and lives from wildfire. Because the landscape is constantly changing, proper maintenance is the key to keeping landscaping fire-wise. Landscapes that are easy to maintain are more desirable than highly complex arrangements that may be neglected. Over time, plants grow and spread, mulches dry out, leaves and pine needles accumulate. All contribute to the fuels which can accelerate a wildfire. Proper maintenance improves the appearance of plants and helps protect the structure from wildfire. Fire needs fuel, something to burn, like grass, trees, or the homes nestled among them. To an interface fire, homes and other structures become merely fuel. Fires start easily and burn rapidly in light fuels like dry grasses. These in turn provide a path to larger fuels like trees. Once at the base of a tree, fire can move into low branches and climb to the top or crown. This arrangement, known as ladder fuels, provides wildfire a path along which to grow and spread. Interrupting a potential fire's path is a primary concern in maintaining the property and the landscape. A fire-wise landscape is a healthy landscape, one whose plants are durable, fire-resistant, compatible with the terrain and climate, and well-maintained. When plants dry out, they become more flammable. Proper watering is therefore essential. The results of overwatering and underwatering can be the same: damaged plants and increased flammable litter. Irrigation systems, whether drip or spray, play an important role in maintaining the health of plants, shrubs, and trees. If an irrigation system is not working effectively, vegetation may become stressed and dry, providing wildfire a way to spread to other vegetation. Familiarity with the system, along with routine inspection and maintenance, is necessary to keep the landscape in top condition. As trees grow, careful pruning preserves their appearance, structural integrity, and functional values. But pruning also maintains its ability to resist fire. Pruning tree branches at least 6 to 10 feet from the ground helps interrupt the fire's path. Pruning cuts should be clean and smooth, avoiding flush cuts and stubs. A well-pruned tree heals quickly, while poor pruning results in scarring and possible disease. No more than 1/3 of a tree's live foliage should be removed at one time to avoid stress. Young, vigorous trees can withstand more severe pruning than older, weaker trees. Remove dead and diseased branches from trees. This reduces the potential for fire spreading into the crown. Shrubs should be well spaced to break up the fire ladder and keep the vegetation density low. Except for formal clipped or sheared shrubs, shrubs should be maintained by thinning, maintaining size, and removing excess leaf litter. Vines and ground covers can build up a heavy underbrush of dead leaves and branches, which should be removed to lessen fuel for fire. Remove or mow dry grasses, weeds, and underbrush. A mulch over bare soil can provide many benefits while adding little fire risk. Even in healthy landscapes, the buildup of leaf litter and other debris can give fires a chance to start under porches and decks, and on roofs. Brush and cuttings from landscape maintenance create another fire hazard. This debris should be promptly and legally disposed of, leaving a clean, neat landscape. Sometimes fuels for wildfires can be found under decks and porches. Store firewood well away from other combustible materials. Fertilizing and pest control is also important for maintaining healthy and therefore fire-wise landscapes. The safe fueling and regular maintenance of garden equipment, careful disposal of smoking materials, and the proper storage and use of flammable liquids and combustible materials are important to maintaining the fire-wise landscape design. Regular maintenance of equipment has the dividend of continued use for many years, but there is also a fire-wise benefit. Besides properly using and refueling lawn and garden equipment, each piece should be properly maintained according to the manufacturer's instructions. Without proper maintenance, an engine can overheat. A heated engine can start a fire. Remove dry grass and leaves from around the engine. Before refueling, allow the engine to cool, even if for only a few minutes. Refuel in an area away from vegetation. Refueling on level ground will help avoid spills. Gasoline fumes can travel several feet, even from a small spill. If the fumes reach a nearby source of ignition, a fire can flash over the surface and back to the spill instantly. In addition, any gasoline or oil-soaked rags should be stored in a closed, airtight container, be cleaned and dried, or be properly disposed. Fire officials recommend that an approved fire extinguisher be available at all times, and that everyone knows how to safely use it. One of the most readily available sources of ignition for fire is as close as the flick of a wrist. If smoking is allowed on the site, make sure that precautions are taken to properly handle this common source of ignition. Store oils, gasoline, and other flammables in safe containers, kept in well-ventilated areas. Treat these as carefully as you would fire itself. In case of fire, notify the local fire department immediately. Any delay can result in tragedy. Your state or local authorities may have specific requirements for one or more of the following: clearance distances for brush and other flammable vegetation, disposal of debris, and fire safety requirements for equipment. Check with local authorities on these and related issues. Even though they may be designed and installed according to sound principles, landscapes change continuously. Your careful maintenance will ensure the landscape's beauty, enhance the environment, and maintain its value as an investment in a fire-wise future.
Welcome back. For tomorrow, southerlies 15 on the south coast, turning southeast to east at about 10 up to the north, and then southeast 10 knots on the inside waters. Lynn Canal 20 knots from the south. Those kick up to about 25 knots for the day on Monday in the afternoon, especially there. Seas 5 feet. Southwest for Stevens Passage at 15 means probably westerly for Frederick Sound, and then northwest 20 for Clarence Strait. 25 knot northwesterlies here off the coast for small craft advisories. Prince William Sound tomorrow, light winds, west 15 North Gulf Coast back to the Barren Islands, southwest 20 there, Kodiak Island up into the Barings, and light winds for Cook Inlet. Then on Monday, Sunday here for the Bristol Bay area, southeast 20 knots, 30 knot winds from the south and southeast there for the Alaska Peninsula, 25 up towards Sitkinak. And Monday, lighter winds in store for the areas, all areas, south to southeast 20 knots here, Alaska Peninsula on up into the Bristol Bay area, southerlies 15 to 20, Cape Sarachef to Sitkinak. And some gale force winds possible here for the Fox Islands, especially north side there, but southerly 30 to 35 knots, about covers it pretty good. Seas 9 to 14 feet, southwest 25, and then 30 from the northwest out towards Shemya. And small craft advisories continue out west there, 25 knots here from about Adak on out to Shemya. and west-southwest turning south again, but down to 25 knots for the Fox Islands. And the southwest coast tomorrow, southeast 30 knots, gale force gusts for sure. 30 knotters out of the southeast for the Pribilof, seas 11 feet, east 30 St. Matthew Island, lighter winds to St. Lawrence Island. And then on Monday, southeast 20 here, small craft advisories continue for the southwest coast, lighter winds for both the Pribilofs and St. Matthew Island. Arctic coast, east side, west-southwest 15 to 20 knots, and then westerlies 20, central coast back to the west there, so definitely a lot lighter on the winds back through here, turning around south at 20, Wales to Cape Thompson. And for Monday, even lighter winds in store for all areas. East now, switching direction, 15 knots there from Wales all the way up to the central coast, dropping back to just 10 to 15 knots, becoming southeast toward demarcation point. Higher pressure now up over the eastern Beaufort Sea. And for tonight, again, looks pretty wet here, central coast into the northern panhandle, but no real heavy rain, and more showery down to the south, but still pretty wet down that area. Lingering thunderstorms and showers here over the eastern and southeast interior, clearing out, drying out, light winds with high pressure building into the interior. Excuse me. Rain and wind into the eastern Aleutians to the Pribilof, showers and breezy behind that. Winds coming down now on the Arctic coast later tonight. That front precipitation just skirting the west central coast, and that holds through tomorrow. Maybe a little bit better chance of some of that getting down to the coastline, but winds are going to be a lot lighter, and showers, thunderstorms farther to the south, maybe to the Kenai Peninsula. Good showers with a trough for the panhandle, and good shot of rain now coming into the Alaska Peninsula with some wind edging up toward the southwest coast, but mostly staying offshore. And then the remnants of that pushes in on Monday. Thanks for joining us, and have a great weekend.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.